Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. We are going to be taking a look at a tool today which can help with RPGs, but also with certain tabletop games, miniature games, roll and write games, print and play games. In fact, any kind of game where you have to generate a dungeon. And this product is the Wallet Dungeon and Wallet Monsters. Yes, these three tiny little cards, which are double-sided, allow you to create and design a dungeon on the fly. And they're small enough to fit in your wallet, hence the name Wallet Monster and Wallet Dungeon. Now, these are available from itch.io. They are a free download. I think it's two different downloads. One is for the dungeon and one is for the monsters. They are brought to us by Awkward Turtle Games. And like I say, they are very useful little tools and well worth downloading because, like I say, they are free to use. Now, these are printed at 100% size, and again, they are two-sided with information. But I have a little bit of a problem. The text is extremely small on these, so what I have done for my personal use and also for use in this video is made them a bit bigger. And again, I've done both sides. So for Wallet Dungeons, you actually get two different cards. Now, the cards both have the same front. They both have the same front page kind of thing. But the rear is different. So again, let's have a look on the larger ones, the bigger ones. So you can see here that, let's move this over a little bit. There you go. So you can see that even though the front is the same in terms of the information for creating this dungeon, the back actually is different. So it is well worth printing out both of these, the color and the black and white versions, because they give you combined much more options in terms of your dungeon creation. Now, for the Wallet Monsters product or tool, as well as making it bigger, I also inverted the colors to make it easier to read and also to help with the ink. So with the Wallet Monsters, what this is, it is a very simple little tool. Like I say, if you print it out at 100%, it's basically the size of a business card. But on here, you have 4 tables to basically help you to flesh out monsters or villains that your characters, your party, your warband could face. So let's quickly have a look at this first before we go on and do the dungeon. So with Wallet Monsters, like I say, it's two-sided. Very simple little tool, but what you do is whenever you generate a monster or whenever your adventure or game tell you that there is a monster, what you can do is use this to give it a bit of depth, to give it a little bit of meat to the bone. So here you've got a table to tell you what's it doing. It's a D10 table, so you've got some random options in terms of, what's it doing here? What's it doing in terms of its activities? It could be getting revenge. It could be being woken due to greed, like dragons. Just trying to make more of itself. It's preparing a ritual. So again, it's adding to the story, adding to your game. The second table, it feeds on. Okay, so here you can give a little bit of variety instead of every monster being the same, every dragon being the same. Here you can change in terms of what its diet or preferences are in terms of food. Again, it's a D10. You just roll and get a different kind of result. Again, it could add that little bit of a challenge to your PCs if they're planning to poison it. Or if they're going in thinking, it's just another ogre. This could be different. This could feed on emotions. That could have a real effect on some of your more emotional players. What else? It's Bane. What scares it? What can hurt it? This is a 2d6 table. And then here, what's the twist? So this gives you just that little bit of extra meat on the bone in terms of what the monster and what makes it unique, what makes it different. Cannot cross running water. Reforms in 2d6 days. So when they kill it, after 2d6 days, it comes back. And maybe there is a way it has to be killed by one of these methods. And maybe if you kill it using one of these that you roll up, that doesn't happen or something. This is a very useful little tool. It's not huge. It's not one of these big books that we can buy with 100 tables of D100 results. No. It's something very, very simple that you can keep in your wallet, pull out if and when you need to, and it gives you just that little bit of extra info to flesh out your monsters and to bring a little bit of query and questions into your players. So I like this. I really do like this Wallet Monsters. Now, the real reason we're here is for these ones, the Wallet Dungeons. So again, it's a free download. When you download, you get 2 files for the 2 different cards. But like I say, the front page is exactly the same. There's absolutely no difference. But on the back, there is. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to the larger cards just so we can read. But this is 100% print. So what do we have? Well, like I say, on the front of the card, they are both the same. Let me move this thing over a little bit first. There we go. There we go. All right, so on the front of both cards, it is exactly the same. And it gives you the starting information in terms of how to use these cards, these tools, to create a dungeon. So the first thing you need to do is roll a number of D6. And then you'll use these cards to determine what they represent, but also to give yourself more details about what's in the room, whether there's any doors or traps. It's all on this card. It's amazing. But like I mentioned, the backs are different. So on the back of the black and white card, you've got information on the detail, also of potential encounters. On the back of the color card, you've got information regarding how the rooms are linked together, whether it's a locked door, open doorway. And it's a very clever method that they use to do this. So let us start making a dungeon. Now, I am going to be using this in my next 5 leagues from the Borderlands game. I'll put a link up here. And what I'm going to be doing to show you what these cards and what these tools can do is I'm going to actually create a dungeon, like I say, for use in this 5 leagues from the Borderlands game. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 10 6-sided dice, or 10d6. Now the number of dice isn't stated on the cards, it's up to you. Obviously, the more dice you roll, the bigger the dungeon, because each of these dice is going to represent a room or an area inside the dungeon. Not necessarily corridors or passages, but more in terms of what the room or the area contains. So I'm going to use 10 dice. I think this is going to be the right size for my dungeon, for my 5 leagues from the Borderlands game. So I'm going to roll these dice. I'm just going to check whether I can actually get it all on camera. So I'm going to roll the dice. Okay, so we have got a couple of 1s. We've got a bunch of 2s, a couple of 3s, a 4, and 2 6s. Right. Now with these rolls, what you now do is you refer to the first part of these cards. Again, this is the print at 100%. They're very small. They can fit in your wallet, as per the name. But I'm using larger size because it's easier. So what do these dice represent? Well, the first thing that you're going to look at is how they're going to connect with each other to create the skeleton, the foundation of your dungeon. And it talks about a 1 is a dead end, a 2 is a passage, a 3 is a split, a 4 is a crossroads, a 5 is a tower, and a 6 is a hall. And it doesn't necessarily mean that dice is a passage, a crossroads, or whatever. What it's telling you is what that area is kind of representing, and it's more in terms of assembling. So for example, I have, let's move this one out of the way so we've got some space. I have 2 dice with 1s. So what that means is I have 2 dead ends. Well, not necessarily dead ends at the moment. It can still be a room, but when I assemble these with the other dice to create the dungeon, they can only touch 1 other dice. It says here, look, cannot touch more than 1 dice. So when I'm joining these with the other dice, it can only touch 1 other dice. A 2, well, I've got 3 2s. These are a passage. They cannot touch more than 2 dice. 3s is a split, cannot touch more than 3 dice. So it's limiting how you can assemble them together. A 4 is a crossroads, can touch up to 4 dice. So this one can actually join more dice together. And we have 2 6s. Now, with the 5s and 6s, they are special cases. You're not going to be assembling them together as the rest of the dice. With 6s, it represents a hall. And the card says here, merge all, can touch up to 4 dice. So what you would do is you'll put all of your 6s together into one big room. 5s represent a tower. And here, all the 5s have to be stacked on top of each other. So for example, let me just get a few more dice. Let's say, for example, I happened to roll 3 5s. What I would do when I'm constructing the dungeon is that I would actually have to stack them together and put onto the dungeon as one tower or one stack of dice. Each dice represents 1 level. Clever, huh? Very, very clever. Let's move those back out of the way. Right. So what we do now is we have to look at these dice and we have to think in terms of how to assemble them into a dungeon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the dice tray out of the way. I'm going to reposition everything. Again, just checking to make sure it's on camera. I think that's about right. There we go. Right, and again, remember, both of these cards, the dungeon cards, are the same on the first page. Right, now, I've got 2 1s. Now, the 2 1s represent a dead end. In other words, it can only touch 1 dice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make one of these the entrance. That makes sense, yeah? The fact that it can only have 1 exit, because it says here. The other one I'm going to think about later. Now, a passage. Maybe from the entrance, I could put a split. I could put a passage. Okay, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to just use a normal passage. So now this dice cannot touch more than 2 dice. So I can put another dice on one of its other sides and that's it. So maybe what I want to do here is use a 3 or maybe a crossroads. Yeah, I think I'm going to use the 4. The 4 dice represents a crossroads. It can touch up to 4 dice. So I'm going to put the 4 there. So now I can put another dice here, here, or here if I want to. I could then put, let's put a passage, and then we'll have the hole at the bottom. And then we've still got 2 3s, a 2 and a 1. Okay, so we'll put a dead end here. We'll put a passage, and we've got 2 3s. 3s are splits. Put a 3 here, a 3 here, and we could just do something like that. You don't have to connect all the sides. It says cannot touch more than. Yeah? With the tower, there is the thing, it must touch at least 2 other dice. So if, for example, I had my tower here, yeah, which are 5s, you stack all the 5s to represent 3 or however many dice it is, a number of different levels. I cannot put the tower here if it was part of my dice. Yeah, obviously these are extra dice, so I won't be adding them. But I can't put it here because it's only touching 1 other dice. I can't put there. I could put here because now it's touching 2 other dice. Yeah. I can't put here because it's only touching 1 dice. I could put into this slot here. I could put there. Now it's touching 3, but that's okay. It says must touch at least 2 dice. So that's how you position the dice. Like I say, the tower is the only one that says at least or minimum. All the others are maximum. So what have we got here? Well, here we have a very quick layout. And like I say, it's only telling you the maximum. So like you've got here, a 2, cannot touch more than 2 dice. So I could put another dice on another face, but I don't have any more dice to do. So this at the moment is my dungeon. And each of these dice is going to represent an area, possibly a room, not necessarily a passage or a dead end. It's an area. These words are really just for assembling. So what do I do now? Well, with this layout that I've done, I can now find out what the room is or what the area is. And that's covered on the next section. Now for this, I'm going to quickly sketch this onto a piece of graph paper, and we'll continue with the second step, which is finding out what the areas are. So give me 1 second and I will just quickly sketch this onto some paper. Okay, so what I've done here is I've just quickly sketched what were the dice and what are the results on the dice, because this is what's going to be used now to determine what's actually in those rooms. So I've just drawn another empty one here so I can make some notes. Right, so for each die, add its value to all neighbouring dice to determine its room. Halls and towers are single rooms with all their dice summed. Okay. So if I want to find out what's in that first room here, I mean, I said that was going to be the entrance, yeah? So this is going to be the entrance to the dungeon. Or in my case, if I use this in my 5 Leagues from the Borderlands, it's going to be a treasure site sort of dungeon. So what I want to do first is I want to know what's in this area. What's this room going to be? The first room that I go into from the entrance. So what we do is we add its value to all neighboring dice. So this is a dice of 1. The only one that's neighboring that's next to it is this dice here, which is a 2. So the total is 3. So a 3 means it is quarters. So this first room here, or this first entrance, so this first area is some kind of staff quarters or soldier barracks. Yeah? So that's what this first area is going to be. So if we look at the next area, the next room here, it is 2, but I have to add all neighboring values as well. So 2, 3, 4, plus 4 is 8. So this room has a total value of 8, which means it is a courtyard. Now, you may think, well, what's a courtyard doing in a dungeon? Well, maybe it's a nice little dungeon. Maybe it's a nice little dungeon with shrubberies everywhere. Right, next, we've got this area here. Now, this is going to have the same as the first one. So we've got a 1. It's only neighbouring one other dice, which is 2. So total is 3. So this is also another quarters. Whether it is, again, staff, soldiers, maybe it is maybe this one is the captains. Like if this has like some kind of defensive force, maybe this is where the soldiers are, maybe this is where the captain is. That's his quarters or her quarters. Right, carrying on, we want to know what this room is now. So again, we have to add all neighbouring ones as well. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So this room has a total of 11 with its neighbours. It is an armoury. So let's just label these rooms. So we've got A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, and J. But I and J actually counts as one room, yeah? So A, let's just write it down here. A is quarters. Okay. B was 8? Courtyard. Room C was also quarters. Room D was a total of 11, an armory. E, F, G, H, I, J. But I and J are going to be combined. Right, E, room E. Okay, again, we have to add all neighbouring. So 3, 6, 10. So room E has a total of 10 with its neighbours. 10 is a forge. Again, because it's just a tool, feel free to modify or enhance the results, yeah? So maybe this isn't a forge, maybe it's a blacksmith, you know? It doesn't have to be a forge, it doesn't have to be anything like that. Maybe it's a glass worker's workshop or something, yeah? F, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's another courtyard, is it? 8, courtyard. G, 2 plus 3 is 5. 5 is a sepulchre. Is that spelled right? Near enough. H, so we got 6 plus 6 is 12. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 plus 6 is 12. Oh no, this counts as one room, doesn't it? So this counts as 12. Because it counts as being one room. So it's actually 14, 18. 18 is a gallery. Okay, and then since this is one room, we're only going to link it with that one there. So 12, 14. Nothing there. 14 is a library. Okay, now that is the basic design done. You now have a rough design for your dungeon. And like I say, between these areas, you can put passageways, traps, corridors, whatever, yeah? But this basically gives you an idea in terms of the areas and how they connect. And here in this first part, it gives you a basic description of what those areas are or those rooms are. But like I say, when I'm actually going to construct this dungeon, I'm probably going to be putting corridors and passages between these areas as it is. Right. So that's the basic design done. But let's say we want to flesh it out a little bit. We want a little bit more information. Well, that's where the reverse side comes in. Because on the reverse of these cards, it gives you the opportunity to add more details, more information about these areas and what they contain. So on the color card, it gives you the ability to see how the rooms are connected in terms of the doorways, in terms of traps, or where the doorways are hidden. I'm not sure, maybe I'll do that, we'll see. On the black and white card, it gives you in terms of detail. So you can, again, add a little bit more flesh, a little bit more detail to each room. Is it crumbling or flooded? Is it opulent or ornate? Is it locked? Also, the last one here on the black and white is to roll encounters. Are there any encounters in the rooms? Now, I won't be doing this for my Borderlands game because the Borderlands game has separate rules in terms of the dungeon contents. But I might do it for this example, just for a little bit extra detail. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to roll up and see how these rooms are connected. So let's have a look. Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write down. I'm going to write down the connections. Again, I've got to make sure this is all going to be on the camera. Okay. So the first connection is going to be from A to B. There's going to be some kind of door or connector between A and B. So A to B. Use the difference in values of the two dice where each room connects for the type of doorway. Okay, so the difference. Well, this was a 1 and this was a 2. So the difference is 1, which means it is an open doorway. Okay, so it's an open doorway between this area and this area. So when I'm creating the dungeon for my game, I don't need to actually put a doorway there. I can just put a passage with openings at each end. I don't necessarily need to actually put doorways there. What's next? From B to C. So B to C, again, the difference is 1. So it's also an open doorway. Next is B to D. B to D. The difference is 2. This dice was a 2. This dice was a 4. So the difference now is 2. It's an unlocked door. So there is a doorway there. There is a door, but it's unlocked. So I will have to put a door there. Unlocked door, but it's not locked, so it's not going to cause my game any problems in terms of having to open it. So we've done that, we've done that, we've done that. Okay, next we've got D to E. D to E, difference is 1, so again it is an open doorway. Next is E to F. Okay, so this is the same, so there's no difference. So if it's the same, it's fully open. So there's no doorway, there's no arch, it's just a complete opening. So fully open. And then F to G is another open doorway, because the difference is 1. Okay, next we have D to H. D to H, that has a difference of 2, unlocked door. And then we've got the last one, which is H to I and J. So we'll put here H to I and J. The difference is huge. It is 10, the difference is 10. So it says here hidden door. Okay, so that's a little bit of an issue. Okay, let's take it as if it was a 6. I don't think I used the total for this one. So the difference here is 4, which means it's a trapped door. Yeah, I think for halls, I think when you're looking in terms of the doorway, you just take the individual dice that it connects to, not the total like you do for the rooms. So I don't take the hall as being a 12. I take it as being a 6 and a 6. So in this case, the difference will be 4. Yeah, 2 and 6. So the difference is 4. Trapped door. So that door is going to be trapped. Now, in my game, I may have to get my characters to make a roll to see whether they notice or not. So that information, just a few little, not even any more dice rolls. You're just looking at the dice that you actually rolled to create the dungeon, and the dice rolls that you've done right at the start gives you all this information, both in terms of what the area or room is, but also in terms of how they connect. Brilliant, very clever. Right, let's go to here. Let's go back to the black and white card. Now we want to see some more information about each room. So now again, we're going to have to put down, I should have done this as a table, shouldn't I? Looking back, I should have done this as a bloody table. Right, so A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, the hall. Right. Now we want to get a little bit more information about each of these rooms. So the first room, or the first area that we go into through the entrance, is quarters. But is there anything special about those quarters? Let's find out. So for extra detail, modify each room based on the lowest, highest neighboring dice. So at the top here, you've got 1, 2, 3, and then over here, 4, 5, 6. So this basically tells you which of these columns you're going to be looking at. And it also tells you what you should be looking for in terms of the neighboring dice. So if we're starting here in room A, we're being told it's a quarters, and it is a 1. That was a 1 when I rolled the dice, when I put the dice down. So that was a 1, so I'm going to be using this table here, this column here, and I'm looking for the highest value of my neighbors. So it's only got one neighbor, and it is higher, so it's a 2. So it's telling me that there is a secret exit here. Ooh, so maybe there's another area here. Secret exit. So maybe in this room here, there is actually like a little secret corridor, maybe with a chest or something. Ooh. Room B. Now, room B has 3 neighbors, a 1, a 1, and a 4. Yeah. So because it's a 2, we're still looking at this first column here. But the highest number of its neighbors is the 4. So 4, crumbling. Now this is a courtyard, but maybe it's in a really bad state of repair. Maybe the roof, if there's any kind of battle in this area, maybe there's a chance that the roof will cave in. Yeah, which could cause area effects or area damage. Interesting. Room C. Okay, so room C is another quarters, Again, it only has one neighbor and it is a 2. So again, it's a 1. The area is a 1, so we're here. The highest neighbor is a 2. Another secret exit. Okay, so what we have is we have a secret exit in the first room here, room A. We've got a secret exit in room C. So maybe there's a secret corridor between these two areas. So I don't actually have to go through area B to get into this quarter. Very interesting. All right, next, D. Now this is the armory and it has a value of 4 on the dice. So that means we now come over to this column and we're now looking for the lowest neighbor. So here we've got a 3, a 2 and a 2. So the lowest is a 2, pristine. So this armory is in very, very good condition. Maybe I would increase the chance of finding something special in this room. Maybe a good quality or a fine weapon or a fine piece of armor in that room because of the result here. All right, let's carry on. Room E is a 3, so we come back to here. Highest, so the highest neighbor, 3, 4. Okay, so the highest is a 4, so it's also crumbling. And E is the forge, okay. F, this room, this was a 3 again. So again, we're looking on here. Highest neighbor is a 3, trapped. So this room has a trap inside. Okay, nice. And then this room here, G, the sepulchre, actually that makes some sense. The courtyard in front of the sepulchre has a trap in it. Okay, that makes some sense. So the last room on this corridor here, G is the sepulchre. It is a 2, so we're here, we're looking for the highest neighbor. There's only one neighbor, it's a 3. It's also trapped. So the sepulchre also has a trap. Oh my God, that's gonna be a nasty place for my warband to go. All right, we've got 2 rooms left to check. We've got this room here, which is a 2. So we're looking on here, we're looking for the highest neighbor. The highest neighbor is a 6. Again, we're taking individual rooms for this, I think. I don't think we're taking the combined one. So the highest is a 6, damp. Now there is flooded. So damp would mean something like everything in this room could be ruined in terms of any kind of organic matter is ruined, any kind of metallic objects has some kind of corrosion to it. Flooded, of course, means it's underwater, but damp could probably have an effect of the room contents, which could affect your adventure. And then the last room, IJ, is the hall. It is a 6. I'm just taking the first one here. It's a 6, and we're looking for the lowest neighbor. The lowest neighbor is a 2. Pristine again. So this is the library, and then it's in very, very good condition. Again, maybe here I would give an increased chance of finding a high quality book or something. Right, so we've done the extra bit of details. It's just added that little bit of extra information for me to flesh out the dungeon, to make it just a little bit more interesting for the players to interact with. Now, the last thing on these wallet dungeon cards at the bottom here is for encounters in each room. Now, like I mentioned just now, for my Borderlands game, I'm not going to be using this because it has a separate way of determining enemies and contents. But for RPGs or other games, this could be, again, it could be a prompt, a helpful push in terms of you deciding what's there. It's not telling you there's an orc. There's an orc in that room. And there's a goblin. No. But it's giving you an opportunity. It's giving you a little bit of a hand in trying to come up with something that's sort of suitable and fits and adds to the story. But of course, there is also the chance of nothing being there. Of 3 or 4. So what we're going to do for each of the rooms, just for this video, not for my game that I'm going to use this dungeon for, just for this video, we're going to find out what kind of encounter is in each room. For the towers, again, remember the towers, you have to stack all the 5. So the towers could be maybe 2, could be 3, could be 4, could be 5 different levels. So for the towers, you've got to roll an encounter for each floor and then order them from lowest to highest. So the the threats will get different depending on how you arrange the dice. Excuse me. For the hall, roll an encounter for each die in the hall and combine them. So a hall is going to have multiple encounters possibly. Excuse me. Hiccups. Right, let's have a look and see. So for the first room that we go into when we enter this dungeon, room A, we said it has a secret exit. I'm kind of thinking that it has an exit to the other quarters, maybe some kind of secret passage. Maybe it's not secret for the captain, so that if there's a fight here, the captain can come through here and catch everybody by surprise. Possibly. But is there an encounter in this room? So what we need to do now is we need to roll another dice. Let's yeah, we use the same dice. Okay. So what we need to do for each of these, we need to roll on this table to see if there's an encounter and what kind of encounter is it. So for room A, we roll and we get a 2, which is an obstacle, passive harm. Okay. So something in that room is going to cause me a problem in terms of getting past it, getting through it, and it could cause damage or some kind of hindrance. So maybe even, I mean, maybe this is like soldiers' quarters, but it's really untidy, boxes everywhere, chests everywhere. So maybe if you dash or run in this room or this area, maybe you have a chance of tripping over something. If you just move normally, maybe it's safe. Yeah, I think just off the top of my head. The second room, room B, this one here, which is the courtyard, the crumbling courtyard. Are there any encounters in there? We roll another 2. Another obstacle. So again, maybe there's a chance of something in that room actually triggering the cave, or sorry, the roof falling in, pillars falling over, things like that. Okay. Room C. Maybe this is the captain's quarters or the lieutenant's quarters, the leader's quarters of the soldiers. Are there any kind of other encounters in there? A 5. An opportunity, an obstacle, and a boon. So this is opportunity. All right, so maybe there is some kind of hidden safe, and inside the safe is some kind of magical item. Because it's the captain's room or the leader's room, maybe there's something hidden in there. But there has to be an obstacle that they have to overcome before they get the benefit, the treasure or something. Okay, cool. It's kind of making sense. Room D, this one here. Room D is their armory. The armory. Okay, so we roll a 3. Nothing. Nothing in there. There's just no kind of encounter in there. It's a pristine armory. Okay, nothing there. Room E, the forge, the crumbling forge. We get a 2. More obstacles. Okay. Room F, this room here, this was trapped, wasn't it? The courtyard, yeah, the trapped courtyard. Are there any obstacles or any kind of threats in there? A 1, a threat. Right, so there is a threat. So maybe the trap is linked with some kind of creature trap. And maybe if they set off the trap, maybe something like a rust monster suddenly comes out looking for new friends and food. But there's an active harm in that room, in this room here, room F. Okay, G, there's the trapped sepulchre. Am I saying that right? Sepulchre? What do we get? We get a 6, a boon. Right, so I think a sepulchre is like where a dead person's buried, like a sarcophagus or a crypt or something. So yes, it is trapped, but maybe inside the sarcophagus or the coffin, maybe again, there's like some kind of magic item or something. Ooh, interesting. Room H, this is the gallery, the damp gallery, this room here, room H. Any kind of encounter, a 5. Opportunity, another opportunity. So again, there's an obstacle and a boon. So maybe there is something hidden in here. I don't know how I'm going to work that in. And then the last room, which is the hall, the library, the large library. It's pristine, in very good condition, but is there any kind of encounter there? A 4, nothing. Okay. So after that short amount of time, I have the workings of a dungeon. I've got the basic layout, I've got the contents, I've got some kind of details regarding whether it's crumbling, whether it's in good condition, bad condition, flooded, trapped. I've also got information regarding how these areas are linked. Is it an open doorway, a trap door, an open door? All of that just from these two cards, which if you print 100%, they are literally the size of business cards. All of this dungeon design was on those cards. Brilliant. It's a brilliant little tool and really, really useful. And again, there is a second product which you can also download from itch.io from the same people. It's from Awkward Turtle. Is Wallet Monsters, again, to get more information on creatures that you meet. Brilliant little tools. I really do like these, and I'm going to, like I say, I'm going to be using this dungeon that we have just created together as the dungeon for my warband in their next 5 Leagues from the Borderlands expedition into this treasure site. So this is going to be my dungeon for their treasure site. Right, I will put the links for these little tools, for these little downloads. I'll put I'll put the link in the description. But they are, I don't know, I just find them extremely useful if you just need to come up with a dungeon on the fly. Let's say, for example, you're running an RPG and your players decide to go their own way. You know how it is sometimes. They don't follow what you've planned. All those hours writing something and designing something and they go in completely the wrong direction. And they want to go and search out a dungeon, but you haven't had a chance to design the dungeon yet. Well, just reach into your wallet, pull these little business cards out. A little bit of time, maybe half an hour, but you can send them out for a coffee, quickly come up with a little dungeon, and Bob's your uncle. Bring them back in, dungeon time. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I really do hope you download these and use these. Very useful little tools. So, until the next video, take care of yourselves and stay safe. Please take a moment to like and subscribe. We'd really appreciate that. And keep an eye out for future videos. Until then, I will see you later. Cheers.